Hey, I'm Molly. Welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm showing you how to make my absolute favorite appetizer, pizza night recipe, or lunch. It's my sourdough pesto garlic bread. You can use any kind of bread you want. So if you don't have a sourdough starter and you don't want to make your own sourdough French bread, just buy a regular French bread from the grocery store or your local bakery, and let's get to it. To get started, you'll first want to preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and then you'll line a baking sheet pan with some kind of parchment paper, and then you're gonna grab your French bread. So like as I said, you can either make your own sourdough French bread. I have an amazing, super easy recipe. I'll link it down in the description below. You can go over to the blog and do that. I made a batch of my sourdough French bread last night, and I let the dough ferment overnight, and then I baked them this morning. So this is gonna be really fresh. You can also go to your local bakery or grocery store and grab one there, but we're going to take our French bread and we're going to slice it horizontally. So you're just gonna take your knife. So I like to use a serrated bread knife. Then you're gonna go down the center. I kind of started it earlier. And then you're just gonna cut this into 2 large slices. If your French bread is ever too hard to slice into, what you can do is you can put a little bit of butter on it, especially if you make it at home. You can put a little bit of butter on the outside as soon as it's done baking, and it will help soften up that crust. But once we have our French bread cut in 2, we're gonna put it on that parchment lined sheet pan, and then we're gonna grab half of a cup of pesto. So I like to make my own homemade pesto as well, and I will leave that recipe linked in the description below over on the blog. I have it over there. It's super simple and easy. I also have a video tutorial of how to make that here on YouTube, and it makes exactly half of a cup. So that is a great recipe. So next we're going to take our pesto and we're gonna put about 1/4 of a cup on each side. So you're just gonna put it on there. I like to just kind of divide it up. It smells so fresh. My husband and I love this for lunches. We both work at home, so this is our go-to, especially when the weather's a little bit warmer. It is fantastic. Okay, now that we have the pesto on our bread, we're going to just spread it with a knife. You could also use a spatula. So we're just gonna spread this on here. If you would like to use a little bit less pesto, you're more than welcome. You could also use a little bit more if you want more pesto. But I do about 1/4 of a cup per side. It gives you a great layer. This recipe is so easy. Let's do the other side. Once we have all of our pesto spread on the loaves, we're going to take 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and we're gonna sprinkle that on top of the pesto. So you'll want to do about 1/2 teaspoon per side. Just sprinkle that on. The extra garlic adds so much flavor. All right, once that's on there, we are then going to grab 1 cup of freshly grated Parmesan. So I like to get a block of Parmesan at the grocery store, and then I'll just grate it at home with a cheese grater. So we're gonna take about 1/2 cup per side. So you're just gonna sprinkle that on. Just get it all covered, and then when we bake it, it'll get all melty. You could also add on a little bit of mozzarella if you prefer, but I just like to stick with my traditional Parmesan. Once we have the cheese on there, you're going to pop it in the oven and bake for 15 minutes on 375 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're gonna do that. Your cheese should be all melty and it should be warm and gooey. It's gonna be so good. After 15 minutes of being in the oven, they are ready to eat. They smell amazing. As you can see, maybe I can't pick them up, they're too hot, but as you can see, the cheese is all melted. So after they're done baking, you can let them cool for a few minutes, and then you'll want to slice them into 1 to 2 inch slices. That way they're easy to eat and they're bite size. Now that it's cooled down, I've been able to slice off a few pieces. You can do this with a serrated bread knife or a pizza cutter or even a bench scraper. But this is what you end up with, these little bite-sized pieces of sourdough pesto garlic bread. They are so good. Let's try one. Yeah, that is amazing. It's so fresh. So good. I truly believe the best food is made with wholesome ingredients from scratch, and that's exactly what this is, especially if you make your pesto from scratch, which I highly recommend, and your sourdough bread. It really tastes amazing, and you can feel good eating it. I'm gonna serve this up for lunch, and my husband absolutely loves it dipped with a little bit of homemade marinara sauce, so I just add a little bit to the plate. It is so good. And then you just dip it in there. the best way of serving it. Listen to that crunch. You can find the link to this recipe down in the description below, as well as the marinara sauce, the pesto, and my sourdough French bread. Thanks so much for joining me today in my kitchen. Until next time, go bring life into your home through the kitchen.